Welcome to Transit Talk, Human Design Transits, Real Talk in Real Time. I'm Kathy.
And I'm Jess. We meet up about every 6 days to explore the current human design transits and how they're actually showing up in our lives. And we'd love for you to join us.
We're talking energy in the moment, what we're feeling, what we're noticing, and what the transits are stirring up inside us and all around us.
So whether you're joining us live or listening later, we're glad you're here.
Let's get into it. Okay, so hello, everybody. I hope this is streaming. You haven't looked yet. I'm a little overwhelmed right now. My Gate 15 plants are all going nuts around me. So I am embodying the energy of Gate 15, and Gate 15 is the love of humanity, but it's also the one gate that's consistent to all living things, and it's a hanging gate in plants. So we talked a little bit about that when we were talking about the Gate 5, and so I thought that I would show you what a plant lady I really am. I have my little plant lady mug of herbal tea, and this is also the gate of extremes. So, I brought some of my most extreme plants, and I'm gonna have to turn that. This is one of my favorites. Look at my little pickle cactus. Isn't it cute?
That's adorable. I always kill those whenever I have the cacti. I always overwater them.
Okay. So, hi there, Jess. You are
Hi.
traveling again.
I am traveling. I am in Santa Fe right now, and I'm hanging out with the llamas. Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can switch real quick.
Oh my God.
It's amazing.
Oh, I expected them to be like white or grayish, not dark brown like that.
No.
That's
They're
cool.
so beautiful. Yeah. Got the feed, pet the llamas.
Cool.
Yeah.
So fun. So
Too much fun. Got Linda. This is actually Linda's llamas. This is just so amazing. She's got 19 different llamas. Look at her beautiful llama. And this is really about that gate 10, right? The being. There's nowhere to be except right now, this moment to moment, beautiful unfolding.
Yeah. Very cool.
So yeah.
Yeah. So you've got some human design folks around you today, right? You're there.
Yes.
Do you want to tell people what you're doing there?
Yeah. So Jonah's got his retreat right now that he's been doing. Yes, Jonah Dempsey. Sorry.
We all know each other and love each other, but there are a lot of people who don't know each other. So I always like to say the list.
Yes. So visiting beautiful Santa Fe right now. And so last week, Jonah did a week on relationships. This week, he's focusing on like the mandala and the hexagrams and looking through different like hot spots. So definitely amazing being here at Santa Fe again. For anyone who's ever been here, it's a very special, beautiful place.
Yeah, and I can't wait to go there in September when I will miss you. I know you're
know.
You're going to be in Oslo. You're like almost like Waldo. Like, where's Pierre?
That's actually a thing. People ask, they're like, where in the world are you right now?
Carmen San Diego. That's more like you. Do you remember that one? Where in the world is Carmen San Diego? It's woman in the red trench coat, right? Like you have to try to figure out where she is based on certain clues. So, yeah, that was a thing. I know when my daughter was young, that was a thing. I think it started way before that, though.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so cool.
So, today is the first day we changed into this transit at 2 a.m. this morning Eastern time, right? So waking up in this new energy is always interesting to see if you feel different. Do you feel any different today?
Yes, I definitely do. Actually, what time did it? I woke up at, I think 3 this morning, like 3:30 this morning, and I went to go sit outside, staying at a beautiful Airbnb, and was just looking at the moon because we're about to have the moon conjunct Saturn and Neptune today on the 19th. So interesting. That's right when it changed because I definitely I woke up and I was like,
your time zone, yours would have been about 4:43. So it was changing right around then, right? Yeah. So that's cool.
Yeah.
So I think I have a little plant gnat or something by my face. Sorry. That's one of the extremes of having a lot of plants is dealing with, getting those little gnats you get sometimes from it. So, we had a really interesting discussion after Gate 5 about, I was looking the other way. Were you showing me something? Oh, more llamas. See, if you are, they're so cute.
They're so cute.
Do they spit at you? Because sometimes they spit.
No.
Some llamas spit, like camels almost.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that's like a defense mechanism. So yeah.
or be more used to people and chill. So
Hmm.
there is there somebody talking there?
Oh yeah, everybody's talking.
Okay, I hear
Can you
somebody.
can you
Yeah,
hear them? Oh yeah.
yeah, I can hear people. I was just curious if it was somebody right next to you that wanted to say hi or something. No,
My tree.
so treat.
Hi.
That's what I wanted. Honestly, I was really disappointed that I couldn't figure out when I decided that last night at about 10 o'clock that I wanted to be what's her Mama Willow from Pocahontas. Like that's what I really wanted to
Oh.
be for the Gate 15 energy.
Mm.
A lot
Well,
for the
she's here. She's here.
yeah. There we go.
Got the tree energy.
Yeah, right. So they the plants all have the receptor for gate 15, but they do not have the receptor for gate 5. So there's a lot of hanging gate 15s out there. So we feel the extremes of emotion, right? Or of not emotion, just of energy in timing and stuff in that.
Mhm.
So, um, okay. So talking a little bit about gate 15, and I know you don't have your stuff there, so I'm going to try to do what you normally do, which is share the picture so we can talk about where it is. So is that working? Do you see it?
I see it.
Probably see all my other things back there. I see a floating disco ball in the background. I don't know if that shows to you.
No,
Um,
it's not.
good. It's just showing the one. Okay. So gate 15 is hanging on the identity center, which this center has, like a lot of the centers, they have a lot of names. It's called the identity center. A lot of people call it the G center. It's sometimes called the self center. And gate 15 is one of the 4 gates of the cross of the vessel of love, which is not shown all of them here, but we do have 3 of those gates active right now and I have the 46, so I actually have those gates all active right now in my design. But the vessel of love is an incarnation cross that is all on the identity center, and it's the 10, the 15, the 25, and the 46. So we have the love of self, the love of spirit, the love of humanity, and the love of the body. So in this transit, we're getting a real taste of all of that. And we also just moved into gate 2 with Venus, moved into gate 2. I think it was late last night. I don't remember exactly the time. And so we have that also active on the identity center. So a lot of energy around who we are and how we identify as ourselves and how we connect with love and direction, right? Although only the 2 have to do anything with direction. So, and the 2 is the most yin energy in the chart. So this is a time this just feels like in a lot of ways this really like warm, loving, beautiful energy. But gate 15 is the extremes, and it can be one or the other. And it feels like we've been living in such extreme times lately, with all the stuff that's going on in the collective, and gate 15 is collective energy. So I did want to just touch on that's where it is. So I'm going to have now we've seen if you're not where you can see the visuals, the identity center is typically, if it's colored in, it's typically yellow, although depending on where you get your chart, it could be any color. When it's white, it is not defined, right? But we still have these defined gates. So if you have an undefined identity center, there's a really good chance that right now you're feeling definition, because not only do we have all these hanging gates, we also have the gate 8 that points to the identity center right now as well. So there's a lot of potential for you to be feeling a defined sense of self in today's transit. So I'm going to stop that share so we can see you walking around in the trees. So, it's gonna storm here. Now it's getting dark. Can you see it's getting dark in my room? So do you have anything you want to add about gate 15? I think Jess is loving on humanity right now. humanity is out there talking to her. So I'm going to just talk a little bit about the shadow of gate 15 is known as dullness, right? So it's this just like, because gate 15 is also this really powerful magnetic energy, and it's sometimes known as the gate of the aura because the energy that comes from this gate is so powerfully charged in our aura. So if we're in the low shadow frequency of gate 15, it's a very dullness, a dull frequency, a very dull energy that's in our aura, and it can manifest in this the two polarity or two extremes of empty or extremist. So this energy is still magnetic, but it's almost like it's gonna draw people in, but then they're gonna right away be like, oh, I don't want that, right? Because it feels icky. So the gift is magnetism. So that when we move from the shadow of dullness into magnetism, we really can impact the frequency of those around us in this really powerful way with this powerful um, magnetic aura energy. And then the gift is fluorescence, which is, this like glowing, amazing kind of um, energy. And this gate is connects with the gate 5, which we discussed not that long ago, because I remember we had a really interesting conversation in the Facebook group about, do people who have gate 5 have better, like more likely to be gardeners or take care of plants? And I don't have gate 5 or gate 15, and I love plants. So we had a whole discussion on that. Really didn't come to any real consensus about that, but um, it was an interesting discussion at the very least. And you're still muted, Jess, I think. I don't know if you're trying to talk to us. No, I guess not. Are you trying to talk to us, Jess? You're muted.
Let me unmute you and say hi. Say hi.
Howdy.
Hello. Okay, hold on. I gotta share. I'm sorry. I'm so distracted right now.
I can
We're
tell.
seeing the Dalai Lama. Yeah, I'm hearing about the beautiful story about the llamas. They have 19 llamas here. This is just, oh, so amazing. Such a beautiful experience. So,
Yeah.
you were talking about the magnetic monopole and the 15 and extreme.
No,
Or
I
no,
want to
no,
talk not the magnetic
no,
monopole, the
no.
gift of magnetism in gate
Mm,
about how this is known also as the gate of the aura. So we have this
mm,
frequency that really comes through in this gate, whether we're in the shadow or the higher frequencies. This really,
yeah,
remember, we all have all of the chart. So
yeah.
when you don't have this defined, you still have the capacity in this energy. So, really being aware of how your frequency impacts other, and your vibe is contagious, right? People really feel that. Now we know that frequencies, like, there's a really good way to explain this, but my mind is going to just butcher it. But, frequencies can bring other frequencies up, but a lower frequency cannot bring a higher frequency down. Um, so, the lower frequency, when you're in that lower frequency, the high frequency people tend to just leave, right? They're like, no,
Yeah.
when you're in that high frequency, it is magnetic because it draws people up. So,
Mhm.
um, yeah. So, but this is a really interesting energy, and it's all about the people that we meet and we draw into our lives. And as a triple split, this doesn't
Yes.
bring any of my splits, this hanging gate, because I don't have a hanging gate here. But as a triple split, I really know that idea of, how the different people that we meet have so much impact on our journey, right?
Mhm.
So,
Absolutely. And, really trusting that all the things that you're pulling into your life are exactly what you need,
right.
right? To learn and lean into
Yeah.
that self-love and to really come back to that place of just finding beauty in the experience, right? Just finding that love through the experience. And oh
Yeah.
yeah, I deeply resonate with my gate 10.
Yes.
And, yeah, just
That's
kinda going through it.
right.
For this time, I actually contemplated I did the gene keys for it, which was really just a beautiful experience. And so, yeah, like you're saying, these gates are all in the G center right now. So gate 10 is also in the G center. And that's like that self love. That's that like piece of identity. That's that direction. And with the gate 10, it's just really, really beautiful because this is where this is the part where the vessel actually starts to like pour out into life. This is where it starts to come into existence in the actual physical world. Um, and then we're moving. Look at me. I'm not great at multitasking, but I'm doing it. um, so yeah, just this is such a beautiful gate for the gate 10, but also noticing that it's one of the gates, it's like one of the most conditioned gates because there's that naturalness to it that we have in the ease of life, the playfulness of life, the joy of life, right? Just that simple joy, that simple experience. And this gate is called the behavior of the self, right? Um, and there's just like this naturalness in humanity, right? Getting back to this naturalness. And this potential to really truly love yourself, but that it gets to be easy. And I think, for me, the 10, the playfulness, the play, and the ease are two like really, really important parts. And so when Richard Rudd talks about gate 10, he talks about the path of transformation from self-obsession to being and the gift of naturalness. And
Yes.
so, in this lower frequency, that self-obsession where it was very interesting when he talks about it. He says it's so simple
Yeah.
and it's just so natural to us, but this might not be the answer that people want because it's too easy. So starting to look at ourselves in this energy right now, because this is our earth energy, this is our grounding energy, and starting to look at your beliefs behind, like, well, that's too easy. It couldn't just happen like that. I have to push, I have to prove. Where do we have this almost like this piece of addiction to the struggle? This addiction to the intensity, like I have to do these things and move these things and push to find meaning in my life. But it's
Yeah.
this energy of relaxing into the almost meaninglessness of life. It's in that moment to moment. It's in that play. It's in that ease. It's in that joy. It's right there. It's right there already within us, right? So
Yeah.
this could potentially look like worrying about what others are thinking or finding ways to just like prove yourself or like, that obsession in your business, that obsession in, whatever it is that you're doing. So one of the beautiful questions to ask is like, where am I self-obsessed? And what is this thing you put in the sentence? I need to fill in the blank before I can relax, before I can become playful, before it becomes easy. What is that piece? And that helps to bring that awareness of like, what is that self obsession? Right. And
Yeah.
then really finding that purity in the experience and letting go of that piece of that, that need for that drama, that need for the struggle I have to prove. And knowing, that life takes care of everything. And it's really interesting as well in this contemplation when he goes and talks about the gift, the naturalness, that he speaks to the spiritual path and how the spiritual path in itself can become a way of not being natural. It's like you have to do this, you have to have the path. But with this gate 10, the energy is the pathless one, right? It's, even if you're in this energy where you're having an argument or something's happening, that's natural. So it's almost stepping out of like the right and wrong. It's like the naturalness of that progression of where you're moving out of that energy into that higher energy of just being. And
Yeah.
so I just, I really, really, truly, deeply resonate with this one because there's so many times where I'm just like sitting and I just sit. And there's so much joy in just the sitting. There's so much joy in just the simple, like even right now, like sitting there, I'm like, oh my gosh, look at this beautiful tree in the moment. And this also comes back to that piece that, like Eckhart Tolle talks about in the present moment. Like who am I when I'm not having that looking at that future, worried about that future and that past, like coming back to now, just really deeply being with it. Um, and that there is no hidden secret, right? It's just the beauty of this moment. And how does that feel? It's this deep level of acceptance. And that's where you can start to find that deep, deep love. And yeah, I think the other piece that was really important for me is that it's no agenda, that you're just like utterly content, and that piece of laughter, that it's not laughter for something to happen. I'm trying to remember what he said. He said, like, it's almost like you realize that big cosmic joke of it all, that you're stepping into this place where you can just be, that but the seeking is natural. It's a natural part of the whole process. And then when your seeking comes to this place of exhaustion, then you kind of find that place of just being.
Yeah. If anyone's seeing me make weird faces, it's because all of a sudden it's really storming and there was just like a big bolt of lightning. And my daughter is at the greenway running. And I'm like, oh, great, right? So hi, Lisa. Nice to have you join us. So yeah, this is beautiful stuff, Jess. I really appreciate that share. And I think it's also worth noting too that you have the gate 10 twice in your design, right? Both on the design side. What is it? Your Saturn and your Uranus? What's the other one?
Yep. My Saturn and my Uranus. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is
So
interesting because it's line 1 and line 2.
yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. And
Yeah.
and gate 10 is the one where if any of you have studied human design, you'll know that the basic descriptions of the profiles are based off of gate 10's lines, the lines of gate 10. And
Mhm.
those 6 lines are kind of a way that they use to teach people the general meaning of the 6 lines, right? Because the lines have different names with every gate, but
Mhm.
the way we refer to them as profiles are really all based off of that gate 10. So just a
Yeah.
little
Yeah. Did
some
you want to go through the lines real quick?
yeah, I just want to say, Lisa, how are you doing? Do you have gate 10 or 15 in your design?
I'm okay. I'm quickly looking on my phone for my chart. I think I have them both, but let me come
Okay.
back in a minute. So if you do the
Okay.
lines, then I'll come
Yeah.
back.
Let's start with gate 15 and we will do the lines. And we also have a couple people watching in the Facebook group. So hello. Um, and we are going to go. Gate 15 is known as, here, let me have both books because I know you're out with the llamas and you don't have your books. So if you
You know what
want,
I do have? I have my neutrino design app, so I can do it on there too.
oh, that's right. Okay. So do you want to
Yeah.
start? You want to start?
Yeah. So 15 line 1 is duty, the ability to confront any challenge without expectations.
Okay. And Shaitan calls it having humility, having the self-discipline to transcend all manner of life issues. You either maintain a sensibility to your nature and needs or an insecurity that is immodest. And I didn't even touch on this gate is also in the I Ching. 15 is known as modesty, which is kind of interesting to think about the gate of extremes being called humanity and modesty. And it's really something that, I've had to contemplate, but it's this idea that we can um, have these extreme gifts and qualities, but still be in a place that's not self-deprecating, but that is not feeling like we're better than someone else. Because this gift,
Mhm.
it is so magnetic, right? In its gift expression, it is very magnetic, but not to be like taking that as something to be full of yourself, because that's the shadow of narcissism.
Mhm. And I think that's the piece of it is that oh, thank you, Jenna. It's that piece of balance, right? It's the balance between those extremes.
Yeah. Okay.
And so then we go into line 2, which is influence.
Okay. And being persistent, finding reassurance by maintaining your sincerity and integrity. Your moderation, as well as your extreme conduct, has a profound effect on others, right? Because this is natural. You're a natural, and again, people can think it's too much or whatever, but really, staying in this place of integrity and knowing that you're being natural and not allowing other people to pull you off center in that, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like it goes.
Okay, so then we have line 3, which is ego inflation.
They'll veer off the trail.
Okay.
They always
So
veer.
being modest, an unwavering commitment to finish what you start, accomplishing deeds without asserting your supremacy affects the quality of your whole life. So, this whole, again, it feels very similar to the line 2, the way he's saying it. But I just listened to Chetan talk about this line, and he was saying, this third line we know has to experience things themselves, right? They have to experience from it. So, and they stay commit in this gate 15, it's staying committed to what you've done, and then not feeling like you've done something that's above others in the process, right? So, okay, line 4.
Is the wallflower. Modesty is a shield against exposure of inadequacy.
Interesting.
Mm.
Restraining any extremes in your life that do not reflect love. Being loving and true to the flow of life requires you to constantly check your inner guidance. So interesting. Read what yours said again for the subpart on the wallflower.
It said modesty as a shield against exposure of inadequacy.
Interesting, because those feel a bit different to me, don't they to you?
It does.
But that whole, like, line 4 is always looking to feel safe in their network, right? So, like, being aware of that potential to be off center and not really be coming from the true place of who you are and being worried about being exposed, right?
I love this part. It says fourth lines are really a perfect binary. On one side, they're enormously influential because that one tracked, fixed focusing is so powerful. Yet on the other side, by being one tracked and fixed, they are so many other things that are not part of one's process.
Yeah.
There's those possibilities like left behind. Right. So it's again, it's looking at that balance piece of
So leaving the
those
parts
extremes.
behind that are not the extremes of love, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. And then line 5.
Line 5. I would just like to take a second here to celebrate the fact that I am walking, I am talking, and I'm looking something up at the same time. So let's see. 15 line 5 is sensitivity.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got fellowship, attuning to the needs of all those in extreme positions. You guide those with less experience through tough situations by virtue or by being brash. Right? That whole 5th line, right? You can be one extreme or the other in this one for sure, right?
Yes. See, line 6 is self-defense. Interesting.
Right? So
Modesty that is never confused with weakness.
commentary, setting an example by taking responsibility for your own circumstances in life. By accepting and appreciating who you are, you find an exemplary course through life. And Chetan talked about this on the call that he does about the lines. Each week he has one of those. And I remember him really talking about something that now just completely left my mind.
So go check out the video.
Right, exactly. I was about to say it, and like my daughter survived the storm and just walked in to let me know. And I was like, okay, so this is gone. I lost the thought. Oh, she's
That's so funny.
She is soggy, but she did not get my lightning, so that is good. She tried to outrun a thunderstorm
Oh, goodness.
while driving. So, yeah, today is the gate of extremes, right?
It is finding that balance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, Lisa, did you check your chart? Were you coming back to tell us that you have something before we go on to then?
I have 10 and 15. 10, I have 10.5 my self node in my personality, and I have 15.5 in my north node and 15.3 in my Venus.
Your conscious
Yes.
Venus?
Yes.
Conscious Venus? Yeah.
Personality Venus. Yeah. Yep.
10.3. Okay, well, we're going to go through the lines for the 10 in a minute. So the
No,
nodes,
sorry, 15.3. 15.3. 10.5 is in my south node.
okay. So the fifth lines in your fifth line nodes. Okay. Interesting. So what does that mean anything to you? Like, do you feel like you have any reflection on what it means to live in this environment with that perspective? Because our conscious nodes are about our perspective on life to a large degree, how we see the world. So
I'm going to admit that I have not been keeping as much, and I've not been putting in the study time that I would like to.
I just
Um,
wonder without getting into that place of like, if we think about this, do you feel like you view your environment from a place of any of the things that we've talked about? And if not, this is just something I'd because you're now at a point where you're more in the north node phase of life, that south node. And so you've got this foundation of the 10, the gate 10 love of self, and moving into this love of humanity and these and the extremes of humanity, right? So I think part of this is, how do we love the extremes of humanity?
in short, I don't.
And that's perfect too. And that's
I
perfect.
try. I do try.
Yeah.
And let's just say that I am failing forward.
Yeah.
Every day I look at things in a slightly different way, but I'm in a part of my life where I don't mind extremes, but I mind extremes when they have to do with values and things that I consider to be right. That doesn't mean they are right. It's just what I consider to be
Right.
right. So I find that where I'm a lot more tolerant in a lot of places, and I tend to love humanity as a whole. There are things every day that make me think that humanity is great. And then there are other things that make me think, what the fuck planet am I on?
Right.
What is happening here?
Yeah.
And so I work through all of that every day. And I think I've said to you all before that I've got 3 out of the 4 gates for the vessel of love incarnation cross.
What's the
So
third one? 46 or 25?
25.
Okay. I have 46. I don't 46 is the only one I have of those 4.
Yep. So I find that love is a constant theme in my life. And when I was a victim, I hated everybody. So I didn't really love anybody except the people closest to me. Then I started to learn to love myself and then my friends. And now I embrace more of humanity. And I'm also a lot more judgmental on humanity. And it's not something I apologize for because it's, you know what, I'm human. I work through things and I am who I am. And who I am may not necessarily where I want to eventually be, but I work through each one of those things as they come up.
Yeah.
And I love that. And how would it, feel right now, especially having that gate 10 and leaning into the grounding energy of it right now, instead of maybe looking at it as like failing forward, but finding that naturalness in it, in that progression, finding the beauty in the moment of feeling that and honoring that feeling and seeing where, you're moving to that place of love. And that
Mm,
love is a central core theme to you. But
mhm.
part of love is also not accepting things. And so
Yeah.
with that 15 as well, finding that balance.
Yeah. I feel like I do honor how I'm feeling because I'm not apologizing.
Yes. Yeah.
And, you know, every day, like I said, I see things slightly differently, and I feel like I'm really grounded, and I ground more into who I am
Mm.
each day.
Yes.
So
Yes. That's the
failing forward for me is is a trial and experience thing. Everything that I do, it's not so much whether I fail or I don't fail, but I move forward, and every experience is a failing forward in some way.
Mhm. Yeah, and, it sounds like you have a very beautiful connection with that. Um, I just wonder, and this could be like the linguistics of it for me, that failing piece, that it doesn't feel like a failure, you know, at all. It's really a perfect experience.
I think, like you said, it's a linguistic thing because I don't look at
Yeah.
failing as something bad,
Yeah.
because a lot of what we do in life we fail at, and that helps us move forward. It's like when a child starts to walk, when a baby starts to walk, a toddler
Mm,
starts to walk. They fail
yeah.
all the time, but they keep moving forward, and they keep getting up and doing it again and again and again until
Yeah.
they do it. So I guess it's just
Mm.
in the way that we look at what the word failure means. Like failure doesn't
Yes.
make me go, "Oh my god, this is terrible. I failed."
Yes.
It it
Yes.
it's just a part. It's just a part of experience for me.
I love that, and I think that's the clear distinction is that it's not anything wrong,
Yeah,
Yeah.
right? That
yeah,
that word is,
mhm,
like, the perfection of it. It's already there,
yeah,
and I love that that brought that up for me because I was like, "Hold on, is it failing?" And so
mm,
that's something for me to sit with too. So I love
mhm,
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if we're not failing, quote, I don't even like the word sometimes, but if we're not failing, then we're not stretching ourselves, right? It's like,
Mhm.
every time you get stronger, it's because the muscle was strained and to the point where it like can't work anymore. Like there's a certain amount of growth that happens from the failure. And if you don't
mhm.
Mhm.
stretch yourself that much, then you're never going to know what you're capable of. You're staying in a safety zone. And I think that's really important. And Lisa, as you're talking, so much came up for me because I've been working on my blog post. And, this is what always happens is I get it like kind of almost done. And then I come on the transit talk and then I'm like, no, I'm going to take a whole nother angle. Then I go to rewrite it or change it. But I really think that this is really important. It's always interesting to look at how the um, energy, the mandala moves, right? We were in gate 12, this gate of caution, the gate of the standstill, right? Which was this emotional voice that needs to wait to get some clarity, um, and needs to know when to speak. And then we were in this gate 47, the realization, that whole sort of thing. And now we shift to this 15 and 10. And this gate
Mhm.
15 energy is it's calling us to love humanity, right? But we have to be grounded in this love of self. And so what does that look like? What if that, because humanity is different than each individual human. And I think we can still love a human and say, hell no, I'm not going to put up with this, right? It's called tough love. And if we can look at how can we love humanity and say, no, you're not going to treat me like this. You're not going to treat this group of people like this. Not on my watch. I know who I am and I know I'm coming from a place of love and I'm not going to stand by and allow this. And I think that there is um something powerful in that. But when that hell no comes out in a voice that was too reactionary because we didn't have that cautionary standstill first. We didn't wait and have the realizations that needed to be had before we voiced this. And I know 15 is not on in the voice, but it's in our identity before we really owned that experience and took it in and made it part of our who we are, right? We waited, we got clarity, we, had the realizations we need to have. And then we exude this in this gate 15 energy, which is known as the gate of the aura, as I was saying earlier. So, because this energy is aura busting energy. When someone has the gate 15-5, that's like considered to be one of the most powerful dynamic channels in the whole chart. Like if somebody with the 15-5 walks into the room, you're like, you don't even know why. You're just like, what was that? You feel that. So what are we putting in our aura, right? Our energy frequency, if it's coming from a place of anger and hate and divisiveness versus standing up for what we believe in. And they can both have the same view of what's right and wrong, but it's how it comes out, right? How we express it, not just in our words and deeds, but in how we be, in how we are, how we exude this sense of this is who I am. This is what I want to be. This is how I can stand for this energy. And it's a lot right now because like things are happening so fast in the world right now, like left and right. There's so many things where we're feeling like, oh, well, okay, so what do I think is right on this issue? What do I think is right on this issue? Oh, I think this is right, but I hate the way that person is talking about it. That feels really icky. So maybe that's not the right stand. Or this person, like we try to compare ourselves with people who have an opinion on one thing. And then because they have a different opinion on another thing, then we start to think, oh, well, maybe I should have that opinion. Like we try to like that's how we get into this divisive, like two-part, like the whole political system of two parties, right? Where we have to think we're in this camp on these issues, so we can't say we're against these other issues that our camp says are important, right? Because then we're giving power to the other side. And I think when we're really grounded in who we are, and this is part of the age of individualism, when we're all really grounded in who we are and what we think is right, then we're going to stand for what we think is right, even if it's something that the other team wants, right?
I can give you an example. There's like two things in 2 days have rocked my world, talking about like the other side, right? Tucker Carlson did an interview with Ted Cruz.
I
And I
saw
found
that.
myself agreeing with Tucker Carlson. I was like,
I wrote that in a comment.
what parallel universe am I in?
Right.
And then Marjorie Taylor Greene was saying something and she was actually making sense. And I went, hang on. I had to pinch myself to see if I was real
Right.
because it's like, but what I can do now is I can hold that, right? Just because the person, in my opinion, seems to be nutty and fruity most of the time.
Right.
And she says something and it's like, oh, wow, yes, I agree with that. I'm not just dismissing it because she's not on my side of the fence or my side of the aisle. I'm like, I can take that in because we are complex human
Right.
beings.
And it's so tricky because that's such a good point because so many times we're afraid that if we say there is something good about someone that we see as really dangerous, that we are normalizing them and making people not see them as dangerous. And I can see the value in that way of thinking because that's possible, right? But it's also something I remember when raising my daughter when she was younger, there was a friend who a lot of parents thought was not a great kid for their kid to hang around with. And um she was someone I had met and seemed fine, but I knew what their issues were, and I won't go into all of that. And my daughter picked her in class to be a partner for something because she kind of felt like, hey, no one's joining her. So they had to work on something. And she asked me, are you going to let me go to her house? And I was like, do you want to go to her house? Because a lot of people were like, oh, no, you can't. And my philosophy has always been when we see kids as bad and we say, you can't hang out with these good kids, they have no choice. And I don't mean that, I shouldn't even say that because I'm saying that in quotes. I don't believe there are bad kids and good kids. But when we say that, we don't give them any choice but to all group together and learn from each other's misguided examples because they don't necessarily have the support system that some of these other kids have. So when you can, bring people in and then hold them accountable while you're doing so, right? So how can we that's one of the extremes of humanity is how can we bring people in? And I wrote this blog post last week that I really felt very proud of, where I talked about after we did the transit talk and I was Moira Rose, I wrote it and I called it There Are No Kings in Schitt's Creek, which that series was a bunch of people with so many character flaws, from narcissism to just moronic, like just they were all, but they were all lovable and they all loved each other. And it was a small town, so they kind of had to get along, right? They couldn't just ignore each other. And I think there's something to be said in that, not throwing the baby out with the bathwater, not throwing people away because there's something that seems horrific. I mean, there are some horrific things that some of those people said or did, but they still had redeeming qualities as well. And I think if we can try to look past the extremes of people, not ignoring them, not failing to hold people accountable, definitely holding people accountable, especially when they're dangerous. But anyway, that was a long tirade, but
No, but
Right.
that's perfect. That's really coming back to that gate 10 energy where it's like finding that absolute acceptance, of what is. And I definitely know that's been a journey for me personally, where I used to be in a place where it's like, that's wrong. This is right. This is wrong. This is good. This is bad. And coming to a place where it's like, okay, you know, I can accept what's there and find the naturalness in it. And that's absolutely not to say, like, oh, bad things are happening. This is okay. It's a slight nuance. And I want to make sure that that's really understood because, that could be just misconstrued in a terrible way. So it's
Yeah,
accepting it and being there with it and being present with it and
yeah,
but finding that naturalness, that word is just so beautiful in the progression of it, in that transformation of it, but still so accepting it, but still not like condoning it. I
yeah,
think would kind of be that nuance piece. And it's beautiful. As we go through the gate 10 lines, you can kind of see that progression of
yeah,
them. And just a reminder that gate 10 again is like it's that vessel of love like pouring out into existence, into the world. And it's trying to almost like find its place and like find that conditioning as it's interacting with the world of its naturalness within it and what's happening around. So for gate 1, we've got modesty, which is like a chameleon like experience where there's this innate sense and knowing and acceptance of one's place.
and that's what we're in right now, and the sun is exalted, right? Do you
Mhm.
wanna read or do you have in there what they say for the exalted line, or is that no?
They should, yes. Let me try and toggle.
I know you're working on the fly here. Um,
I know. Literally,
that
there's
was a
actually
great
a fly
that was a
flying
great
around.
segue getting us back on track, so thank you.
You're welcome. No, it felt perfect. Um,
Okay,
Seymour.
I'll read while you look for it. So, and Chaitan calls it investigating, finding your place in any situation and blending in. Steady progress in life requires your sensibility to everything you encounter along the way. And the sun is exalted today with this. So it says, for your honorable behavior in all situation fosters your growth. So this really feels like what we were talking about. This, like you're like really realizing that it's your behavior.
Hmm.
To look at
So
your behavior. Go ahead.
yeah, so I found it. It's a valued sense of purpose, no matter what the position. The
Yes.
ability to know one's place and how to act despite circumstances. And that feels like really knowing who you are.
Yeah.
Right? Regardless of what's happening around you, that's that like whole boiling water thing. Are you like a potato that goes soft? Are you an egg that goes hard? Or are you the coffee? Right? Are you bringing your like purpose in? Are you bringing, you to the circumstances rather than letting the circumstances like dictate who you are?
Okay. Um, I'm trying to remember that analogy. Are you the coffee?
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, are you the coffee? So that's you have boiling water. And
Right.
with the boil, I'm really glad you asked that because I feel like I skimmed that very quickly and this could be very pertinent for someone. So you have boiling water. So this could be looked at like life. So are you in life like an egg? What happens to an egg when you put it in boiling water?
It boils. It cooks.
It gets hard. So it
Right.
goes from its natural yolky soft state and it becomes hard in the hot water. Then we have a potato. What happens to a potato when you put it in boiling water?
It's soft.
It goes soft. Are you a person when the circumstances in life around you, the things happen, does it change you and you become soft? Or are you like coffee? What happens when you put coffee in hot water?
Um, it changes the water and it settles
Yeah.
to the bottom, and it
Yes, that's very detailed.
have coffee grounds. It comes
Yeah,
coffee.
Cass.
The coffee itself is coffee grounds. The water becomes changed.
That way too detailed. Just coffee in general, when it's in hot water, what happens with that interaction is that the coffee changes its environment. It brings itself into life. It brings itself into the environment. It changes its environment rather than the environment and life changing yourself.
Okay.
Does that make more sense for like what are you talking about?
My technical mind is like getting into that, but I get the point. I was
Yeah.
not going to negate the point with the science, but
Yeah. I love it.
it's just my brain.
This is
So
perfect. Finding joy in it.
right, exactly. Wait, for
Yeah.
so
Line 2.
line
Yeah.
2. Okay, so go ahead.
Okay. So line 2 is the hermit, and this is what I have. And this is when I feel life start to change who I am, that it's that withdrawal rather than accepting the conditioning around you. It's like, oh, hold on, I feel like I'm getting changed. I'm gonna step back. Also for me, with my 4 ways, I have the gate of retreat and everything. So that definitely plays a part in there.
Mhm. Okay, so finding sanctuary. Contentment comes from not confronting impossible life dramas. Outer disputes can easily become inner ones unless you sidestep others' discords altogether. So this is, that like you said, so pulling away and just going into yourself when life is coming at
Mm-hmm.
you, and not
Mm-hmm.
and not going soft or hard because of it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's call it the coffee break.
The coffee break, I love that. Yeah. So my Uranus is line 1.
Okay.
So that's the one. That's the coffee. That's where I coffee my life.
Right? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So line 3 is the martyr. And so this is futile rejection of standards based on just awareness. So that awareness within you, right? But also noting that it does no one any good to reject it. And so that's that trial and error piece of that third line.
So, Jonathan in the comments just brought up a good point. I read the exalted for the sun, and the sun is not in gate 10. I was just being scattered. The earth is in gate 10. So that, when I read that about the sun. So in line 3, though, the earth is exalted. So, so that was my mistake. So 10
Oh,
line 3 is surrendering, the principle of aligning with personally appropriate causes. Care is needed to be sure you are honoring your own reality and not someone else's. So the earth is exalted, and it says a personality, moderate yet steady approach to confronting trials brings you great rewards. I'm sorry, a persistently moderate yet steady approach. So this is that third line again. So even though you're experimenting, like being a little bit more moderate in that experimenting. Um, so do you want to read the exalted on that, or is that too hard for you to find for the
I can sit and look. Hold on. Let
okay.
me find
All right.
it.
Fred, I want to answer another
Yeah.
question that had
Yeah.
in the because he said in electromagnetic, do we need the exact line of the other gate? So like right now, if we're talking about gate 10, line 3, to have a electromagnetic, you don't need to have a line 3. You could have any line. It's still an electromagnetic, but there's 3 different calibers of electromagnetic connection. And so it depends on whether or not, if it's in the same line, it's called being in resonance. And then if it's in a harmonic line, which means it's like for line 3 or line 6 are called harmonic. And then there's dissonance where there's really no frequency match. So like a line 3 and a line 1 or a line 3 and a line 5, those would all be dissonance. So
Yeah.
they still connect, but they're always going to be happier when they get the same line. So if you have a channel and it's in dissonance, and then it feels the harmonic connection through the transits or with someone else, you're going to feel that in a stronger, different way. So that's my understanding of it.
Yeah. So I found it. It says the martyr as an enduring example whose behavior is ultimately enshrined, behavior that is ultimately challenged by others. Hi. And then we go on to line 5, the heretic. So this is direct and overt challenge to the norms. And so remembering with the 5th line, we have, that projection where society projects on the behavior onto how it wants to see the behavior.
Right. So we have revisioning and enjoyment in confronting, often defying the commonplace. So this feels a little provocative, right? Confronting, often defying. You enjoy challenging tradition and find there are many ways to do so, lovingly or not. So, anyone got a gate 10, line 5? Do you relate with that? So, that's your environment. Yeah. So there you go.
That's nice. So yeah.
Lisa's environment is 10, line 5. So that's
Here to challenge the norms. Yes.
kind of your perspective on life is based in that.
Love that.
Okay.
And line 6, we have the role model. And this is the perfect expression of the norms through action rather than words. And so that's that embodiment piece, right? Like really living it rather than just sharing about it.
Yeah. The bringing alignment, a personal example that is impossible for others to ignore. Successful steps imply flourishing outcomes so long as you honor yourself and your journey. So, okay, so those are the lines. And one thing I want to add is when you get a gate like this, gate 10, where this is part of the integration circuit. So the integration circuit is individual circuitry that connects with 3 other gates. So we have the potential for a lot of electromagnetics here. So if you have a hanging gate 57, like I do, you get the 5710. If you have the hanging gate 20, which I think you do, don't you, Jess?
So I have the 1020. Yeah.
We have the whole 1020. That's right. Sorry. 10 twice. So
yeah.
If somebody has a 20 hanging, you would feel the 1020. And if you have the 34, you would feel the 3410. And those are all very distinct energies. So be aware of how these things impact your behavior, right? How it's going to impact your behavior of self, and just staying true to that that radical self-trust, that inner authority, that sense of knowing who you are, and use these energies for your own betterment, not for just like blind, being led into extreme.
Yeah. And how can you add a little bit more ease into your life? And really, I would encourage everybody to answer that question about like, what is that thing you're putting before? And then I can relax, and then I can laugh, and then I can, what is that piece? And getting to just really connect in that right now, adding a little bit of playfulness, a bit of laughter, a little bit of like delight to your life.
Especially if you have an open route.
Yeah. For everybody. Everybody can do with a little bit more love and laughter. Yeah. And hanging out with, come on, llamas. Like just, like how freaking, go hang out with a llama.
So I really appreciate that you gave us some time when you could be over there petting llamas. Are you guys there all day?
No, not all day, just the morning. And I'm so lucky because I completely forgot. I was like, oh, we'll do this and then I'll do the transit talk. And it's like, no, hello, different time zone. So
Silly.
it's all
Okay.
perfect though. Yeah.
Perfect. We got the llamas. So
We got the llamas.
the llamas. So anyway, now I just need to do that thing where I can't ever find where to stop the streams. All right, guys. Peace out.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks, Lisa.
Bye.